Hello, guys and girls. This is Sean Lonkert, your host of the Mystic Paranormal Podcast on the Midnight Highway. I wanted to share with you a story. It's not a personal story, but it's a story from a friend who had a sister, and it's basically about her story. And I actually experienced something after the event that took place with my friend's sister. So I'm going to get into that right now. I'm not going to waste no time. I want to try to make this video 20 minutes or less. I hope that I can do that because there's a lot of details. But basically, my friend, I won't name her by name, she and another friend would go out. They would sneak out at night. They were like 14 years old at the time, and they would run down to a local trailer court and just try to get into whatever mischief they could. Good alcohol, you know how it goes, man. Just teens trying to fit in and have fun. Okay, no, nothing bad. Just little alcohol. I mean, yeah, that's extremely bad for anybody, let alone a 14-year-old. But and I'm not advising a 14-year-old to drink, but I'm just saying. But anyways, she came home that night because so I forget what had happened, but for some reason, her mother, which I consider my second mother, besides, well, I actually have three mothers. I have one that passed away, which is my biological mother. I have Joyce Duke, and I have another lady, and if I say her name, you'll know who I'm talking about, so I'm not going to say her name. I consider them my three moms. Basically, she got punished, and then she was in really bad trouble, obviously, and her mom grounded her and had sent her friend home. Well, she woke up during that same night after being put to bed, and what happened was her attention was directed towards the mirror, which was a very large mirror that she had on a dresser, or not a dresser, but her it was like a, I don't know, you got a mirror on it, and then you got cabinets below it, whatever you want to call it, and it was there, and there was a woman that walked out of the dresser. Now, okay, keep in mind these guys did have some alcohol and they were young, and things may have, reacted with them differently than a normal adult, meaning alcohol. Um, but this entity came out as a pretty, well, okay, as a pretty woman. She came out as a pretty woman. And she said, she started laughing. Or you know what? Let me change that. I gotta rewind before we get to that part. Something else happened first, and this is significant. Okay, she's sitting in her room. That night went flawless. It wasn't that night. It was a different night. All right, so that night went flawless. Well, one day she had woke up, or not woke up, but she was sitting inside. I don't know, listening to record or just not CDs even at the time. It would have been it may have been CDs, but probably cassette tapes. But anyway, this woman had walked inside her bedroom, and she was extremely pretty. And when Natalie said, "Who are you?" she just kind of smiled and walked away out into the hallway. Okay? Now keep in mind, guys, the house that I'm talking about was built on either a local cemetery, like a family cemetery. I think it was a family cemetery. And this woman walked out, and my friend, the girl, my sister's friend also, she's like my best friend, she's like my second sister, she walked out, and there was nobody there. There was actually nobody in the house, and she looked outside, and her family was out there. It was a nice summer's day, and her family was outside on a picnic table, partying, having fun like adults. And she walked out there, and she told her mom, there was this real pretty lady that's in there. who is that? Who was that? And she's looking all around for her, and she can't find her. She can't find her at all. So the bottom line was there was no explanation of who this lady was that this particular girl had seen, my friend. So, okay, that's very strange. And what makes it even stranger is what I was about to say. This house is built on, I think, a private graveyard. Not really like like a graveyard that you would go and visit your mom or your dad or your sister or some grandpa, something like that. Not like the real large cemeteries. This was built on a private cemetery, meaning, okay, I'm the Lonkarts. Okay, my last name's Lonkert. The Lonkarts had their own personal cemetery because they lived in this house for so long, and they wanted to pass this house down generation to generation. So they decided to have a cemetery for other family members on the grounds of the house. Well, this house that was built of stone by the dad, the father of this lady, this little girl, 14. He had built a stone house on top of this private graveyard. And a lot of you, well, two of you in particular, meaning the girl that I'm talking about, the 14-year-old, and one of my best friends at the time, I can't say his name or to give it away, but if any of you find any things that I might have messed up in and talking about in this video, please come forward and let me know. You could do it in private message so you're not revealed, but I'm saying this video, I'm telling you this story in the best way that I possibly can. Okay, so I am telling you this story the best way I remember it. Well, anyways, they couldn't explain the lady. Of course, her mom kind of brushed it off. Well, anyways, there was one night, and this lady, my friend, the girl, I keep calling her lady, she was a 14-year-old girl, she was laying in bed, sleeping. Well, she happened to wake up to the voice, and it said, Natalie. Oh my God. I just blew her cover. I'm sorry.
I said her name earlier too.
My wife says I said her name earlier too. I apologize, Natalie. I'm telling your story. It's a very interesting and significant story for the world of the paranormal, and I think it needs to be out there. I'm not giving your last name. No, that's the key, and I will never do that. But anyways, Natalie awoke. And this voice was very eerie. And when she sat up in her bed, she can feel an evil presence in her room. Okay? And this lady that she had seen earlier that was really pretty was actually very ugly. Okay? But she could tell it was the same lady. But she had grown older and kind of decomposed. So she was very scary, and Natalie freaked out and she yelled out, Mom, Mom, Mom. And her mom came running into the room and said, What's going on, Natalie? What's going on, Natalie? But before my friend's mom could get into the room, this thing darted into her mirror and disappeared. It went into her mirror and disappeared. Well, that went on, and my friend's mom suspected that it was a nightmare or some kind of night terror or something had happened, and basically brushed it off. Okay, well, a couple days later it happened again, and she heard the same things. Natalie. And I'm saying it the way that this Natalie described it to me. She said that's how she would wake up, by hearing her name called like that, like 2 or 3 times, in the way that I said it. Natalie. So she woke up one time, and this thing that had darted into the mirror was even uglier, okay? And it was going through her clothes that she had hanging up in her closet, okay? and she had these clothes hanging up in the closet, and this being or entity or whatever you want to call it was going through her clothing. Okay, and it went through her clothing, and it was throwing everything down that it didn't like, but it kept the color green. It liked the color green for some reason. I don't know if it liked the color black, but that's what you would imagine that it would have liked, but it didn't, as far as I know. It liked the color green. So she would yell for her mom to come in, and her mom would just blow it off and lay down. But one time, her mother heard her daughter arguing with a woman, okay, like an elderly woman. So immediately she opened her eyes up, got out of bed, flung in there, okay, and there was nobody there. The lady had once again darted into the mirror. So her mom at that point knew something was going on. And over time, Natalie's grades started to fall apart. She started getting involved in more, inappropriate. What's the word I'm looking for? She started getting into more inappropriate things that a 14-year-old girl should be taking part in. And I'm not talking sex or anything like that. I'm talking like drugs and sneaking out of the house and doing all this different mischief. The cat's on the counter. I just wanted to let you know that, Chris. I'm sorry I had to interrupt real quick, but yeah, the cat's on the counter. Anyways, guys, see, this is what happens when I do videos live and I don't have an editor. I can't edit it out, which really sucks. And this cat is smart, and she's taking advantage of me being on this video right now. So she knows that I'm paying attention to this video, and will give her no recognition whatsoever. So hopefully my wife would do something about that, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, it just got worse and worse and worse, and the thing never touched her that came out of the mirror. But it started to get closer to her as the nights progressed, and then there would be mornings where my best friend, I'm not going to give his name away because Natalie is just Natalie. But I'm not going to give his name away, but he would come out. Natalie would be talking about what she had seen, blah, blah, blah. So basically what would happen is, she just kept having these paranormal experiences with this being. And eventually my friend's mother contacted a psychic, and the psychic came in and she said to her mother, blank, you have a Grand Central Station for spirits in this house, okay? There is a Grand Central Station for spirits in this house. So, what they did was they did all these blessings and holy water and all this weird stuff and Jesus crosses and one day Natalie was gone. She might have been at my sister's house at the time, and this was the first time that I was going to spend the night at my best friend's house. And I remember when I walked into the house, you could feel this energy, like this very dark energy, something of highly significance, something very powerful. And he said, yeah, dude, you think that's bad? Walk downstairs into the basement. As I walked downstairs, I've had chills before, guys, where my hair stands up, and that's all good, and a lot of us have. But this was electric, man. This was like something electrical. Static. That's the best way I could describe it. There was a huge amount of static in the basement. Okay, a huge amount. And I want to point out that throughout my childhood with my friend, there was a window in his basement that basically went under his front porch. And that was a room blocked off by his dad for some reason. Okay? That was a room blocked off by his dad. And for whatever reason, we don't know. Well, one day my dad said, Sean, I'm going to tell you something. You know, my dad's friend was my friend's dad. And he said, so and so don't like me to mention this and all, but I'm going to tell you a little story real quick now that this is actually taking place at this house. This house is built on top of what used to be a haunted house, and there might have been a family graveyard there. And when I was growing up in the hillside, we used to call it the haunted house on the hill. Seriously, that's what they used to call it. All the trick-or-treaters were too afraid to go there. Well, anyways, I found this out from my dad. I had no idea about it before, but my dad told me when the dad of the house was constructing the house, when he was building it, he found a tombstone. Okay? Here's the scary part, the significant part of that. The tombstone read each first and last name of the family that lived in that house. So my best friend's first and last name was there. Natalie was my best friend, so her first and second last name was there, or her first name and last name was there. Her mom and dad's were. So he left, and then he was just had too much money wrapped up into when he eventually came back, but it freaked him out. Like, what the hell is that, dude? Like, there's a tombstone, like, that has the names of your entire freaking family on it. And then all this paranormal activity starts going on. And I have a lot of stories about this house, guys. I have a lot of stories. We're at 7 minutes, so or 17 minutes, so I'm really going to try to wrap this up real quick. But, I'm sorry I drink so much. I have a dry throat. But, basically, the long story short, Natalie's mother woke up one night, and this thing was shouting at Natalie, and it was begging her, come into the mirror. It wanted her to come into the mirror. Dude, this is freaking real, dude. This is like the real deal. I know this sounds false, but it really wanted her to come into the mirror. So Natalie refused and was crying and shouting, Mom, Mom, Mom. Well, her mom ran into the room, but this time they had, okay, they researched it. Okay, I forgot to mention that part. They did do some research, and the psychic said that it was something called the Hag. Okay, so anyways, that's why I call the story the Hag, because that's what supposedly this entity was called. Well, anyway, she ran into the room. She heard her daughter crying and shouting at something, but here's the scary part. She didn't see any other person in that room. But that old lady, that hag, was screaming at her daughter to come into the mirror. And her mother heard the whole conversation, dude. So she knew that it was real. And she kept saying, shout that you're not afraid of it. Shout for it to go away. And they were both screaming at the top of their lungs, we're not afraid of you. In the name of Jesus, leave. Blah, blah, blah. Getting anything they do to get rid of it. To get rid of it. And it was screaming and crying, please don't make me go to that place again. And it turned pretty again. The entity, the hag, turned pretty again. Okay? It turned pretty again. So it eventually ran into the mirror. Very sad. The guys and girls have been 19 minutes, and I wanted to keep this movie at 20 minutes long. It's a long download. So if you have any questions or suggestions or comments, please post them in the comments below. Please subscribe to our channel, like the videos, click that notification bell for further updates, so that way you're notified when we upload further material, further videos. And that's pretty much all I have to say, guys, except for tomorrow's my debut podcast show, which I'm going to do it a little differently, and I'll explain during the podcast on YouTube. But I won't be doing anything on Facebook. However, my wife runs a a Mystic Paranormal Facebook group page, and we're going to be posting videos there as well. But you have to subscribe here if you would like to see the shows live and interact with me. That's it, guys and girls, for now. We're at 1959. All right, peace.